Hello everyone, it's Marshall Gittler bringing you the morning comment for September 30th. After a long string of gains for the dollar, the U.S. currency fell against all its G10 counterparts yesterday. On the other hand, it was only mixed against the EM currencies as the protests in Hong Kong, the polls in Brazil, and heavy fighting in Ukraine hit several of the major EM markets. There may be a connection there. The EM tensions may have caused investors to trim their long dollar positions. I expect the impact of these events to fade as domestic U.S. factors come to the fore again ahead of Friday's non-farm payrolls, and I'd expect to see the dollar gradually regain the ground that it's lost. The Japanese data out overnight was mixed. On the one hand, retail sales picked up notably as the unemployment rate fell and cash earnings rose more than expected. On the other hand, overall household spending fell much more than expected, and industrial production unexpectedly plunged. Figures suggest that domestic demand may be picking up, but overseas demand remains weak. Added to the slowdown in inflation announced last Friday, today's news in theory should increase pressure on the Bank of Japan to weaken the yen further to stimulate demand. Tomorrow's Bank of Japan Tankan, the short-term survey of economic conditions, will be a key indicator for the yen. Expectations are that most of the major diffusion indices will fall, reflecting the lack of a rebound from the hike in the consumption tax. Such a result could add to speculation about further BOJ action and push the yen down. As for today's indicators, following yesterday's CPI data for several European countries, the Eurozone's overall CPI for September is expected to show that the bloc's inflation rate slowed slightly in September. 2 days before the ECB meeting, data showing the risk of deflation continues could add to hopes for more ECB easing, which would be euro negative. German retail sales for August are forecast to rebound, while the country's unemployment rate for September is expected to remain unchanged. In the UK, we get the final GDP for the second quarter. That's going to be interesting because the data will be revised in line with a new EU methodology that includes the underground economy for the first time. In the U.S., Conference Board consumer confidence for September is forecast to remain near its 7-year high, adding to signs of an improved U.S. economic outlook. The Chicago PMI for September is forecast to have decreased slightly, and the S&P Case-Shiller House Price Index for July is also coming out. Finally, we have two speakers today, Norges Bank Governor Olson and Fed Governor Powell. For more information, including technical analysis, please read the full comment on IronFX.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or circle us on Google+ to get more trading ideas. This is Marshall Gittler, head of Global FX Strategy at IronFX Global, wishing you solid trading.